Good morning, everybody. Charts. Why do I forget that? All right. So interest rates spiking higher, helping financials, and to some degree, giving some uh, floor under the markets from dropping further. Right? Why? I guess some stuff in the Dow is doing okay. It's not down as much. Look when we look at the charts or the Russell. But as I looked at those charts this morning, I said, well, I don't think they're going to stay up there. You know, these rising interest rates are good for financials because it's been, the yield curve. Why did I get rid of this thing? Hold on a second. Okay. This chart should help. This yield curve, which has been contracting, you see it's spiking up like that, and that's good for financials. And but as we look at those and say, well, how much more can they help the broader markets? And just looking at how much higher is it going to go before sellers show up? And just looking at others, probably not much more. So, what's helped the Dow pop higher, as they've gone up, and you see the turn beginning to happen. I don't think those financials are going to help very much, but as we see, this move up, maybe it just doesn't fall as much of those stocks, which is financials and oil-related stocks that have been doing pretty good, holds this from not falling as far as some of the other markets. So it's, has shown relative strength the way it's came up. I mean, it led the way down, hit that support, and retraced 100% of this part of the decline anyway. So maybe this holds up better than the rest, and we'll see what happens should it get down here. I can't imagine that it won't. Just flip-flopping back and forth here. And the real damage is happening in tech. And so we see the reversal from yesterday, and now it's down here at the support. And most of the time, what this does is break through this low, that greater than 100% retracement. It's already down quite a bit, and it's on this support. It'll be interesting to see if sellers want to continue this at the open, whether we get some kind of a bounce. You can see the stabilization that's happening over the last couple hours, I guess, down near the low. And it's only Tuesday. Last week's bottoming tail bar at this moment anyway is being negated. So as we get into this week, and assuming today doesn't turn into a reversal day, day by day, we see how it sets up. It'll be interesting at the end of this week. Do these reversal bars that we saw form at the end of last week get negated, which then is going to suggest a measured move lower and a more significant correction into, the October. It pretty much starts at some point in September, where it picks up steam and then follows into October, and then creates that end of year opportunity. Things begin to bounce more significantly from. So I suspect this will come down here, assuming it stays weak throughout the trading day. It may just, I don't know, yesterday we were looking for things to really not do a whole heck of a lot. And you could see, the spiders just had an inside day. They didn't do much of anything. And now you can see they're down here at 349 area, gapping down, or take somewhere down here. So relatively significant gap. And just looking at to the left there, 349. The gap down creates a void. It's always going to bring in the potential for things to pop back up a little bit. And so let me just drag this down here where sellers should want to show up. It's not that far. So popping up there, maybe then rolls back over again. So we always, if we're going to have a sell bias, let's say a gap down, say, okay, there's a void above, and we get a retracement into what was support, become resistance, it turns around, and we wait for some type of a reversal bar for that to form. Here's the cues, and we're still stabilizing down here, 365-ish. Gapping below yesterday's low. So again, a pretty big gap from where it closed yesterday. Things coming back off of the support that we were looking at yesterday morning, and now gapping down here and starting to come up. So as I mentioned yesterday, where we're looking at where prices are while I'm speaking, that doesn't mean they're going to be there when the market opens in 20 minutes. So, going to take note of that and see how far it might come up or not. But, coming down here around 364, 365, it's a pretty big gap. You can see the cursor down there, gapping down under the green area of that support. So pretty bearish gap. And if it can't bounce significantly in the first half hour, I imagine that it's going down to this low. So again, big gap creates a void above. Now, can it create overhead resistance, whether the pre-market resistance holds it or not? What I'll do is I'll just mark that off as a reference point and then see, does it actually get through that? Or does it stall there and then begin to turn back over again, which would, higher time frame sell setup, bearish gap down, comes back up, and that doesn't come back up very much. Okay, my assumption is it goes through this pre-market support that's formed. And of course, that as far as the day chart goes, that's not going to be there. So I don't really care about what's there at pre-market. It should just keep going down to this level here where buyers should want to become more aggressive. If it gets down to a significant swing low, such as this, as buyers stepped up here, buyers stepped up there. And so set an alert down there on the cues. And if it gets down there, your alarm goes off. Okay, there's significant support there. If you're short something, you should be thinking, maybe things are going to bounce here. Maybe I should take something off the table. The NYSE tick maybe hits an extreme. And those things kind of should say, hey, things are looking pretty bearish here, but based on this information, it's likely they're going to turn around. All right. And the Russell, right, holding up pretty darn well. Not quite back at the top of the trading range, but doing better than those. And so oil stocks, financials, these regional banks, ripped over the last couple of days, and they've cleared this. So based on that and the strength that these have shown, while we've got a wide range bar, greater than 100% retracement, there is a stiffer resistance here. They're likely to come in, but they shouldn't collapse. I got no reason to think they would. They should show relative strength, but again, those coming in, as I believe they will, based on that type of a move, right? The Russell should come in and still show some relative strength, even though it'll likely pull back. Those regional banks shouldn't collapse. And, oil stocks that have been moving up, different oil sectors look different. The broadest one, looking at XLE, you can see how that cleared those highs last week and then the move up yesterday coming to resistance. So as I was mentioning before, when we were looking at the Dow and saying, well, financials and oil stocks doing well, and those are not down as much. The charts don't look as bad as the Qs and S&P. Well, how much further are these going to go? So I don't think they're going to continue to save the day for these markets like this that are holding up relatively well. I think they'll pull back, but not as much as the others. Clearly, tech is what's getting hit the worst. Now, interestingly, the semiconductors were holding up so well yesterday. So that's something we'll be keeping an eye on to see, how damaged they may be or the lack thereof. Because when this is all said and done, what's showing relative strength should be great performers, when this correction is over. And I did not look at the internals last night and imagine they look too bad or good. They're really relatively neutral. We'll see where this day ends and sends these two. But what we want to see is, of course, this come down. It's going to form some support. We're getting into October. We want to see these internals lining up with that pattern. I check. Remember our old friend IWN or M? What is that, value, Russell? Yeah, so we don't get too much pre-market here. Again, as this correction, takes its course, this certainly could be something that can really outperform. So thanks for pointing that out, McGraw. So I like this. I like the stabilization down here, the depth of the retracement. And again, the markets are down, assuming, that's going to continue. If this holds up in the face of this pivot high, this resistance area, that bullish price action would support a bias that this can go all the way back up to the highs up there. And Bitcoin can beat up a bit here, huh? What kind of a whipsaw was that? But down a bunch. But we'll see as this pullback on the weekly, if it can make the turn down here in this area of support, just continuing to chop around. And one of the culprits besides interest rates going up, take a look at this. The dollar continues to hold up here, and the British pound now down below this neckline, and that's pretty bearish. If this stays down like that, it's got a lot of room to fall. And the euro still hanging on to the edge here, but it failed to hold on to that turn. So, dollar going up, interest rates going up, inflation, inflation, oil still pushing higher. What it is at the gas pump. And, what I hear in the news, they said the Fed chair says it's going to be okay one way or the other. So what does that mean? One way or the other. That means it has to naturally subside. Why should it do that? Or they're going to raise interest rates faster than thought and maybe more than they thought. And that could really be nasty, but it's yet to be seen. All right. Gold still pulling back here. Silver, holding on for the moment on this support. It didn't bounce as much as gold did. Keeping an eye to see if it makes the turn down here. It's still got work to do. And our transports, which we always look at, they had their nice bounce. And they're at a pivot high. So there isn't much here to suggest that the markets are going to recover in any big way from this gap down. The gap down creates a void, and that just opens up the opportunity for a bounce. And we'll see how far it gets. And looks pretty bearish here as the market's pre-open. We'll see where it all goes. And yeah, we'll update it, of course, in the green room. And tomorrow morning, all yours, Dan. What's your opinion on nuclear energy ETFs? You got a symbol, Raul? Nuclear energy ETFs. I'll look at it before.
No, but I'm in the process of forming a flying car.
That's a good symbol for it. That's it. I'm joking. Yeah, I don't know any symbols for that, but clean. One thing that someone had brought up in a room that was being traded was maybe this is part of that nuclear energy. I think Janet had mentioned this, I don't know, it was yesterday or before that, and it broke out. So take a look at that, Raul. Power bar yesterday.
Yeah, actually, I just said hold off.
Yours, Dan.
Can you hear me? Greg, you got me muted. Yeah, I just said hold off clean just because I want to get a better entry, not because I don't like it anymore. It still looks great. Our solo holding like a tank, not going down with a gap down on the market. On the video here, I tighten the stop. We should have a nice gain at the open. I said 5-minute high for half. Let me monitor that. All right, so let's see our opens. We're not in it, but hey, Janet, remember I told you Logi? I liked a lot of the list you gave me yesterday into the close. That has a nice $6 gap down. I don't know if you entered it or not. We have a couple of shorts. Our airlines are holding here. I'm just looking at my open minder. The only alarms that went off is NVIDIA, my down alarm. So yeah, the opens look okay. I still like AMD that we were watching yesterday if it takes out yesterday's high. Actually, let me set an alarm right now. MU had earnings. On that LRCX though is down a lot. That looked great over the high. Yeah, yeah, I saw coup down, but my alarm still didn't go off. But yeah, this one could turn out to be a problem. So yeah, I'll keep an eye on him. All right, let's go. Let's see what I got over here. YouTube, Thomas asking about THO and UN. THO, way too sloppy for me. I mean, it's a big bullish gap, but look at all those overlapping ugly bars. I got zero interest in that unless it sets up on a 15-minute time frame. And UN, there's no symbol there, Thomas. DBGI, I just saw this going by the ticker, blasted. It's a big gap, but something got it launching here this morning. Here's another one, ALF. ALF, hey, this might set up beautifully. Wide range igniting buy setup if it holds right here. That's a something bar bottoming pattern. So let's keep an eye on ALF. Maybe like over this An ideal spot might be right over this 5-minute pre-market shelf. Plag, $1.42. I don't like the way it trades, but that's a bullish gap. We'll come back to it at 10 o'clock. Info had earnings. I don't see any prints though. I just don't like the way it trades. You know, when you see something like this, that's where these moving averages actually provide a very good visual aid of you got railroad tracks. So that's telling you got to ignore the whips as long as these moving averages look like that. ACB, marijuana stock, had earnings gapping down. This pot sector. Somebody was making a joke yesterday about, hey, is this a tempted bottom? Because I'm the one that it says it. It's like a temp number 190. This thing just can't. Every single time it looks like it might be a bullish turn. It just disappoints. CNXC. I see one print up here. I think this had earnings too. I don't like the way it trades at all. SRE. This had earnings and it looks lower on all time frames. That's an ugly topping tail continuation bar. Ugly bar right there. But it's an end of day decline. So you really need a bounce to short into. Unfee had a nice day yesterday. I think it was earnings, but that's worth watching. That's worth it. I'll put Unfee right here. FDS looks lower. I think this one might have been a Rita pick or earnings, I forget. I'm trying to make the turn. I see one print down here, 110. We'll come back to it. So gapping up 117. Oh, that's the one I think Thomas was asking about. Baba, in a weak market, that's relative strength. I'm going to put that in a window. Had bullish engulfing yesterday, still in a nasty downtrend though, daily, weekly, monthly, but so two things. It could be the start of a bottom. I don't know yet. And number two, it might give us a day trade, 15-minute chart. AMAT, yeah, we were talking about this one yesterday. That I said I liked LRCX so much better, just because it was a closing breakout. It's it's getting whacked here also. Oil up, as Greg talked about, but unless you're just trading a 15-minute pattern, there's no entry on the daily. RRC, another little oil stock, been on a tear. Oh, did you all see the news on, there's our Solo. Solo looks great. Did you see the news in the UK that their natural gas price is almost 400% higher than ours? So they're having a little natural gas, a little spike there. And then they're saying, hey, depending on how cold it gets, they can have some problems there. Yeah, you got lines at the gas stations. Well, I don't know about 400%. Just look at a graph. Now this looked great earlier when it was up at, now see, I would prefer this to have held 505 and then taken out maybe a 30-minute high. Now it's retracing, but it's still worth watching. Let's come back to IPW. Now, 6 SIX. the daily's kind of a mess, but look at weekly, monthly. So buy setup on the monthly, breakout on weekly. It's in the retail sector. Um, we're still long RCL. We have a covered call. We have Hawaiian Airlines. Sold a third right at 23 yesterday. So the leisure sector, we've been nibbling in. Oliver, BBIG. Yeah, this one's on my list from yesterday though, but it needs to settle down and give us a better entry. Open. I have no idea what you are thinking. So you need to tell me, JR. Is it too late to get into open? I'm assuming you mean long, but you got to be more specific. It's up, you count them, it's up 12 bars at the 200. The weekly is bullish. The weekly is a nice bottoming pattern. It's gapping down 50% into yesterday's bar. You need a big stop, and you all got to tell me. You all got to tell me what time frame you're trading. If it's weekly, stop last week's low and it's fine. If it's daily, there's no entry. Cog, another oil. That actually was tradable yesterday. You know why? Because it rested for 4 days or 8, depending on how you count them. That was tradable. I can't believe Greg missed that yesterday. Green. Yeah, many times it's obvious what you're looking at, but many times it's not. So I just have to make an assumption, Matul, until you correct me. I'm assuming you mean short because of the bearish close yesterday, but I'm not sure. It's gapping down. It's gapping down here to 275. Okay, so put it in a 5-minute thumbnail and we'll play it by ear. So my answer is, I don't know. I don't know yet. Oh, that is an ugly gap now. All right, I got filled on my solo covered calls. I just put in a limit pre-market. All right, this is not good for the put spread. So Greg, we have the 30-minute rule, obviously, but sometimes it looks so bad we want to use a tighter stuff. So we definitely have to keep an eye on coup. And it was a long idea. We're short the 232.50s for Friday. So we're still $2 out of the money, but that's an ugly gap.
Well, the markets are holding. Again, the size of the gap down, they probably bounce a bit here. And if it doesn't recover, let's see how far 5 minutes, how much the markets recover in 5 minutes. And if it doesn't very much, we'll then kill it under the 5-minute low.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so obviously our directional, we're gonna kill it. All right, yeah, so I got filled on that solo. NVIDIA's rallying here. See, NVIDIA's a tough cookie. So that's why I said I tighten the stop. All right, we have the 215s. All right, we're up 80 cents is all. Shoot, I was hoping we'd be up a whole lot more on that. All right, clean is coming in, so maybe we will get an intraday entry now. All right, the video. Break even stop. I mean, do not turn that into a loser. I see if AMD is fine. If it takes out the high, that's rallying here too. MU. Hey, you know what? MU had earnings. So that one